Hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Virginia Kajumko and I'm a real estate agent in New Hampshire and Maine. I've started this video series to debunk some rumors and help educate people on the real estate market, buyers, sellers, investors, just to come from contribution and bring some education to some people, answer some questions people might have, and also touch on some subjects that I think might be helpful when someone's getting into the real estate market. So this is the second video in my video series that I've done. I am going to touch on some questions that got posed on my first video so that those people get answers, and then I will touch on the form that I wanted to speak to you about today, which is the New Hampshire Brokerage Relationship Disclosure Form. So the first question that was posed on the last video was, when a house says pre-inspected, should it be a red flag for a buyer? The answer to that question is no. What happens with those homes that are pre-inspected, the agent who's representing the seller advises their client to get the home pre-inspected so that they know everything that could possibly be wrong with the home so that they can disclose all of that information so a buyer can't use it against them in a negotiation. What it also does is they probably don't know everything that's wrong with the home. They may be living there a long time, and it gives them an opportunity to address what needs to be addressed in the home. The roof, the heating system, things that are on the verge of maybe failing and that might come up and that might be used against them. But that's good for a buyer because those problems will already be dealt with by the time they purchase the home, or if they're not dealt with, the seller and the seller's agent will probably price the home with those needs to be considered because they're going to have to disclose that to the buyer. So that'll kind of play on the value of the home in its current condition. So a buyer's coming in and they're buying a more upfront and properly priced property. That doesn't mean by any means that you should not do your due diligence with that inspection. Read the inspection report through in detail. Do your research on the company that did the inspection and the inspector to make sure that they're certified in the state that you're purchasing the property in. Read reviews on the inspection company. Have people liked their work? Did they trust their information? Did they have anything to say that might lead you to believe that they might leave something out or miss or overlook some things? You definitely want to make sure that the person they chose to inspect the property was qualified and that the information they are providing you can be trusted. Also, if you're buying a pre-inspected property, that means that when you're buying it, there's no reason that you can't bring your own inspector in to still do an inspection. You have every right to do that as the buyer. You can read their inspection report, and if you're not happy with it, you can bring in your own inspector, 100%. So I hope that helps answer that question for you. Another question that I was asked was, is it true that manufactured homes decline in value even if you fix them up in any and all ways? And the answer to that question would be no. If you're going to invest in a property and make it look more appealing, or upgrade the systems, or make the roof more reliable, things like that, it's going to increase the value of the property. So I would advise you, if you have a manufactured home and you are wanting to maybe fix it up and sell it, you would most likely be increasing the value of that home. With that being said, you don't want to overinvest in the property. So you don't want to put too much money into the property that you won't get returned to you in the sale of the property. One thing to consider is do your research and find out what homes that are similar to the one that you're making improvements on are selling for. Compare the bedroom counts, the bathroom counts, the square footages of the home. If this manufactured home is sitting on private land, how much land is it sitting on? If it's in a park, you don't own the land, you rent it from the park. So that's not to be considered. But you want to make sure that the property that you're working on is comparable to those properties, so you can kind of see where your threshold of where your asking price can be for that property, including the improvements that you've put into it. Now, when you're looking at properties, you can say, okay, well, this one has the same bedroom count, bathroom count, but it needs to be overhauled, and it only sold for say $30,000, because mobile homes tend to be less expensive. But then you also have a mobile home and somebody went in and there's new flooring and fresh paint and a new countertop and upgraded cabinets and black or stainless appliances. Obviously that home is going to sell quicker because it's going to be more appealing to a buyer, and its value is going to be evaluated at a higher level because of its finishes. So short answer is, don't worry about investing in a property even if it's manufactured, assuming that you're putting in assuming that you don't overinvest in the property, you should be safe to put money in to get money out. And so thirdly, I wanted to touch on this form. So this is the New Hampshire Real Estate Commission Brokerage Relationship Disclosure Form. I just want to point out one other item on here too. In parentheses right here, it says this is not a contract. Any real estate agent that's talking to any consumer about real estate is supposed to be showing this form and giving this form to whomever they're speaking with. And the reason is the state of New Hampshire is trying to protect the consumer. Whenever I'm talking to a person, I need to advise about real estate. I need to first advise them that I am a real estate agent. I need to secondly advise them that currently, as I'm speaking to them, they're a customer. They're not a client, and there's a difference. As a customer, I would owe them, according to this form and what we adhere ourselves to as real estate agents, to disclose all material defects, as actually known by myself as the licensee, pertaining to the on-site physical condition of the property. To treat both the buyer and seller honestly. I can't lie to anybody about anything. To provide reasonable care and skill for all parties. To account for all monies received on behalf of the buyer or the seller in relating to the transaction. To comply with all state and federal laws relating to real estate brokerage activity. And to perform ministerial acts such as showing the property, preparing and conveying an offer. What I can't do for you as a customer is advise you on what a good offer would be or things like that. So another reason that it's important to give this form to everybody that we're speaking to real estate about is if you're not a client, you're not protected. And it's important for you to know that. As a customer, anything you say for instance, you're a buyer and you tell me, well, I can spend up to this amount, or I can, this is my reason for buying, or things like that. That would make yourself vulnerable because you're giving away part of your negotiating points. So it's important for the consumer to know that when you're speaking to a real estate agent, you are known as a customer and you need to not share information that would otherwise give away your negotiating standpoint. Now, when you're a client, I would owe you as a real estate agent confidentiality, which protects you against that. So you can openly speak to me about why you're buying, why you're selling, what you want, what's your buying motivation, what's your selling motivation, what's more important to you when you're selling your home. Is it the price that you get for your home? Is it that you get out quick? Are you getting a divorce? Things like that that I should know as your trusted real estate advisor, as protected as a client. I would owe you loyalty, so I'm loyal to you in the transaction and only you, not the other side. Disclosure, I have to let you know about anything that I'm aware of, say like radon, lead, things like that I become aware of. I'm responsible to let you know about that information as well. Lawful obedience. If you ask anything of me that's within the confines of the law, I have to abide by what you're telling me to do on your behalf. And above all, promotion of the client's best interest in every aspect. So putting your interest before my own in any situation, obviously your interest before the seller, say if I'm representing you and you're the buyer, or before the buyer from representing you and you are the seller. So that's a little bit of differences between you as a customer and you as a client. So don't be intimidated by this form. If a real estate agent is giving it to you to sign, all they're doing is making you aware of how it is and where you are currently and where you could be if you decide to work with that person. But also, say I represent the seller and I'm showing you a property. You call me off my sign and you say, hey, you have this listing and I'd like to see this property. Like, okay, I can show you the property. But it's also important that I give you this because you realize that in that transaction, in that moment, I represent the best interest of the seller. So you wouldn't want to share information with me as a representative of the seller that might, and this might not be the right term, incriminate you or give me information that I might have to then disclose to my seller, which might not make your chances of purchasing that great, or it might just give away your negotiating, if that makes sense. So don't be intimidated by that form. It's actually there to protect you, and it's not a contract. It's just a disclosure. So that's the end of this week's video segment. I am actually posting this today because I don't want to make people wait an entire week until I do another posting. So I'm going to start doing a posting on Wednesday and a posting on Friday. As long as I have content to bring you, I'll be doing it every Wednesday and Friday. And the more questions you ask, obviously, anything you're curious about, anything you want me to touch on, you can get specific, you can be broad, however you want to be. You can post them on the video, or if you want, you can send them to my email at virginia.k@kw.com. I hope that you got a lot out of this video segment, and it will always be on my YouTube channel for reference and on my professional page as well. Thank you very much, and I will see you guys on Friday, so in a couple days. Thanks.